Most people today say that every human being has equal value. But have you ever stopped long enough to ask why? I had a moment recently where I said, well, of course people matter. And then I caught myself. Why is that obvious to me? And why isn't it obvious to everyone? That question sent me down a path that opened up a much deeper way of seeing myself, and honestly, seeing you too. We hear phrases like human dignity and equal worth so often that they feel like background noise. But those ideas didn't come from science, or politics, or whatever the latest trend is. They came from a much older story, one that shaped the world we live in, whether we realize it or not. In the ancient world, when someone made a statue of a god, they didn't think the statue was the god. They believed it was a place where the god's presence rested. Kings used the same idea. They placed statues of themselves in far-off regions to say, this land belongs to me, even if they weren't physically there. So when Genesis says humans are made in the image of God, ancient readers didn't think about intelligence or creativity or talent. They heard something far more powerful. They heard that humans are God's representatives on earth, living reminders of his rule and his care. Now, the King James Version uses the word image, and that's accurate. But the Hebrew word behind it, tselem, carried a meaning that English doesn't fully capture. A tselem wasn't just a picture, it was a representative figure, a physical sign of someone's authority. So even though the KJV didn't translate it as representation, that's exactly how ancient people understood it. When Genesis says we're made in God's image, it's saying we are his authorized representatives, not just his reflection. And here's the twist. In other cultures, only the king had that status. Genesis says every person does, rich or poor, strong or weak, born or unborn, healthy or sick. Every human being carries the same royal identity. A lot of people today think the image of God means we have special abilities, but Genesis never says that. Instead, it connects the image to a purpose. Let them have dominion. Being made in God's image isn't something you have, like a talent. It's something you are. It's a calling, a role, a status. And if your value comes from who you represent, not what you can do, then every human life has equal worth. Even the people we overlook, even the people we disagree with, even the people who don't believe in God at all. Now here's where history gets interesting. The founding fathers didn't know the ancient background about idols and kings, but they did know Genesis. When they wrote that all people are created equal and given rights by their creator, they were echoing Genesis 1 in political language. They weren't borrowing that idea from Greece or Rome. They were borrowing it from Scripture. And even if someone watching this doesn't believe the Bible, they're still living in a world shaped by its ideas. So let me ask you something. If every human being has equal value, where does that value come from? Not from evolution, not from politics, not from personal opinion. Those things can't guarantee human worth. They can only argue about it. But the idea that every human being is a royal representative of the Creator gives you a foundation you can stand on. A foundation strong enough to explain why you matter, why your neighbor matters, why justice matters. Christians believe Jesus is the perfect image of God. He shows us what humanity was meant to be. And the story of Scripture ends with humans restored to their original purpose, living with God, caring for creation, and ruling with Him in a world made right. You don't have to accept all of that today. But maybe the idea that your life has unshakable value isn't an accident. Maybe it's a clue, a whisper, a seed. And seeds have a way of growing. If this made you think, even for a moment, that your worth might come from something bigger than yourself, hold on to that thought. It might be the beginning of something.
If this video helped you or gave you something to think about, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up and subscribe.
If you enjoyed this or learned something today, the best way to support the channel is simple. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a quick comment. The shorts are just the front door. It's your engagement here that helps me keep making more videos. Thank you.